Hello, my name is Dr. Bagley. You are probably watching this because you're in my Data 220 class and you want to know how my weird grading system works. This is a small video that I made to sort of talk you through what's going on here. Before I get into the nitty-gritty details, though, I'd like to give you a little bit of why I'm using this weird grading system that you haven't really seen before. The first big reason is that it helps you focus on the right things. So it helps you to focus on demonstrating your understanding of key statistic concepts rather than just like, oh, I need 20 points on this thing. It also helps to get you in the habit of meeting professional quality standards. So one big reason that I like this grading system is that it's a lot more like the real world. There's no such thing as partial credit on a work assignment. Either your work meets professional quality standards or it doesn't. And this grading system is set up much more that way. It helps you to learn from your mistakes. I'm sure you've all, at one point or another, gotten some assignment back and you say, oh, I got a 19 on this, and then you just sort of and never really look at it again. This grading system, because it has the opportunity for revisions, focuses you in on what were the things that you got wrong and why, and how can you learn from that. And in the end, your final grade will be more meaningful. It will be more of a reflection of how much statistics you know rather than like how many points you got. Okay, so with this rationale in mind, let's dig into some of the details. So most of your work in this class will be graded on what I like to call the EMPX scale. There are 4 possible marks that I might give any of your work in this class. They are as follows. The top one is called excellent. Basically, if I can use your work as an answer key, you get an excellent. Mastery, I would say this is the most common mark. So this is where like it's clear that you know what you're doing. Maybe you've made a few minor mistakes, like, I don't know, you added 2 plus 2 and got 5 or something. All things considered, that probably is a minor mistake, as long as it doesn't impair like the clarity of your communication, or it doesn't like make it so that it's not clear that you understand what you're doing. Then that's fine, and you will have demonstrated your mastery of the concept. The next mark, the P in the EMPX, is called progressing. The idea here is that you're getting there, but you're not quite there yet. So here you're making some more important mistakes. There are things that I want you to think more about because I think that they demonstrate like a misunderstanding of something that's really important. And then finally, there's a level called X, in which like this is the I don't have enough evidence mark. I can't tell whether or not you know what you're doing. So maybe your work is incomplete. Maybe you only did like half of a problem. Maybe it's really unclear what it is that you're saying for one reason or another. Maybe your work is irrelevant. Maybe you were accidentally answering the wrong problem or something. So these are things that mean that like I don't know, I can't quite tell yet, and I'd like to see more evidence before I make a final decision. So the general idea of this is that E and M count. They demonstrate your mastery of a particular concept, and P and X don't. And if your work is graded, at a level of P or X, then you will have the opportunity to revise it. So let's talk more about revisions. Before I get into the details of this one, I will just say like this is the whole point of the thing. If revisions really help you learn a lot, and I encourage you to take advantage of doing them. So basically, anything that's a P or an X that doesn't demonstrate your mastery of the topic can be revised and resubmitted. So all of your stuff will be handed in on Canvas, and then if it's graded at a P or an X, then I will give it back to you with like substantial comments and feedback on it. And you have 1 week to read my comments, figure out what to do, and revise and re-upload. Your rewrites must include detailed reflection on the feedback that I give you. So, and the reason for this is because like really this is how you learn. You go back and you say to yourself, oh, okay, I see why I got that wrong now. Oh, and I see how to do it right now. Okay, I get it. This is where you really do the learning in the course. I will point out that like past students have really appreciated the rewrite process. They've told me in course evaluations, etc., that they've really learned a lot from doing these. And so I really encourage you to take advantage of this. One pro tip that I'll give you is to work on things early. You've only got a week, and so if you really need to spend some time thinking about like what is it that happened here, what does this comment mean, blah blah blah. If there's questions that you need to ask me, then the earlier of a start you can get, the happier you will be. Okay, So I will admit to you that this is a complicated system, and so I made a tool for you to help you keep track of where you are in the course. Here's what it looks like. It's called the Grade Progress Tracker. My little webcam thing is covering up part of it. I'm sorry about that. You'll be able to see the whole thing. I'll be posting a link on the course Canvas page. So basically the idea is there's all these little tick boxes, and every time you do something and demonstrate your mastery on it, you can check off one of those tick boxes. And then once you fill up an entire one of those big boxes, you sort of level up and gain like grade points for that category. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at this top row here about pre-class quizzes and in-class quizzes. Okay, so the first day you do a quiz and you complete it successfully, and so you get to check off one of those boxes. And then the next day you check off another one, and et cetera, et cetera. And as you progress through the course, you check off all these boxes. And now that, so as soon as that entire D box is filled up, we can like level up. We've completed that D box, hooray. And then we can start checking off things in the C box. I hope that makes sense. And then to calculate final letter grades, the basic idea is we look at the highest filled box in each category and we find the number of grade points that it corresponds to. So like D is 1 grade point, C is 2 grade points, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like computing your GPA. And then we'll compute the weighted sum using the weights that are given in the left-hand column of the grade progress tracker. And then we translate that number back into a letter grade. So that doesn't make any sense. And so let me talk you through an example. So let's say that somebody had completed or gotten mastery on 21 of the pre-class quizzes, and then 17 of the R module assignments, 12 written homeworks, and then they got the following exam scores, and then they like successfully completed the term project. So let's take this information and figure out what their final grade is. So the first step, of course, is to fill out the grade progress tracker with all this information. Here's what it would look like. Please excuse my beautiful mouse checking off. It's really pretty. It looks like Harold in the purple crayon. So you can see I've got 21 of the boxes checked off in that top row. And you'll notice that the B box is completely filled out, but the A box is not completely filled out. So that means that we like have our little check mark there in the B box. Similarly, in the next box, there were, how many did I say that was? 17 check marks in the R module homework. So that completely fills out the C. It doesn't quite fill out the B. And then you can see the rest of the stuff that's going on. Okay, so what we do is we look for the highest full box in each category, and we give ourselves that number of grade points in each of the categories. So for instance, 21 pre-class assignments fills out the B box, but doesn't fill out the A box. And so we get 3 grade points for that category, and so on and so forth. So I've gone ahead and computed all the grade points. So you can see there will be 2 grade points in the R module homeworks category because the C box is full, but the B box is not, so on and so forth. And then what we do is we compute the weighted sum of all of those grade points. So the pre-class quizzes is weighted at 5% of your grade. So we're going to take that 3 grade points, multiply it by 5%, we get 0.15, because 5% is the same thing as 0.05, et cetera, and then we add all those numbers together. Let's see what we get. We get 3.35, which if you translate that like back into a letter grade, it's like a B+. Okay. So here's a very important note that I want to make. If you don't fill out the entire D box in any category, you can't get a passing grade. The reason why is that a D box is roughly half of the work in any particular category in the class. And I figure if you do less than half of something in the course, like it's not fair for me to give you a passing grade. So passing grades are C- and above. If any category is below a D, no matter what your like weighted grade point number ends up being, the highest score that you could get in the class is a D-. Okay, I'm sure that this is complicated and you're still confused. Once you figure out what your questions are, please feel free to email me. That's my email address on the screen. Also, feel free to message me on Canvas. It all goes to the same place. And I am looking forward to learning some statistics with you this semester. Have a good day.